Hi, I'm Holly Davis. Thank you for choosing Good Medicine DUI School. This online course will complete your required 8-hour DUI school by the state of Nevada. It is 8 hours, and you do have to complete all 8 hours. It is online, and you can take it at your leisure. I know you have a busy life. When you're finished with this course, you are going to have a certificate of completion that you can print out. Please print that out for your records. That is your copy. Another copy will be our responsibility to send to the state of Nevada, and we'll take care of that for you. Again, thank you for choosing Good Medicine DUI School.
Hi, I'm Holly Davis. I'm a counselor here in Las Vegas, and I opened up a DUI school, and I called it Good Medicine DUI School, Driving Change, and it is a driving course. This course is for those who have had a DUI and have been arrested for DUI in the state of Nevada. This is also a course for people who want to take a driving test. And if you take this class, you can get a discount off of your insurance depending what insurance companies that you ask. So it is also a preemptive course. I repeat, this course is, though, a DMV approved course for a DUI school that is a required course if you get a DUI in the state of Nevada. You are responsible for asking your judge if this course will satisfy your DUI demands. In the state of Nevada, you do have to take a DUI class that is 8 hours, and this class is approved by the state of Nevada. And I want to go over our syllabus and a little bit of an introduction to the class. So this is an 8-hour course. There's 8 hours of instruction, and you can not pass unless you take all 8 hours of this course. This course is on the abuse of alcohol and controlled substances and the problem of drinking and driving under the influence. It's under the influence of intoxicating liquor or controlled substances as it exists in the state of Nevada and in the United States, as well as statistics that are relevant. The laws against driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor or controlled substances in this state and the penalties. The amount of alcohol prohibited against driving will be discussed, as well as the responsibilities of the law if you drive drunk. The effects of alcohol and controlled substances in your body, what happens if you are convicted, and finally, treatment modalities are all covered in this class. So the course outcomes, by the end of this course, you will be able to know why drinking under the influence is a problem, responsibilities of the state of Nevada, what is a DUI in Nevada, DUI penalties in Nevada, how to reinstate your license in Nevada, how to protect yourself from other drivers, the effects of alcohol, how alcohol affects driving ability, how alcohol affects the body, and the use of drugs on the body, and of course treatment modalities. And we will follow along in this workbook, and you will have the screens on the computer. So an introduction. This course is on the abuse of alcohol and controlled substances and the problem of driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor or controlled substances as it exists in the state of Nevada and in the United States, as well as statistics that are relevant. We just discussed that. The laws against driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor and controlled substances in this state and the penalties, you will know that. The amount of alcohol prohibited against driving will be discussed, as well as the responsibilities of the law if you drink, the effects of alcohol and controlled substances in your body, and what happens if you're convicted. And finally, treatment modalities are all covered. So by the end of this class, you'll know why drinking and driving under the influence is a problem. The course on abuse of alcohol and controlled substances and on traffic safety and attendance completion, and that's NRS 481.051. You might want to write that down in your notes as very important in this course. NRS 481.051 and 483.725. That's 483.725, and that is going to be completely covered beginning now. Number one, a student enrolled in this course on the abuse of alcohol and controlled substances or a course on traffic safety may A, be considered absent if late for a class or reassigned for another class or course. Leave the class only during designated periods of rest, except in an emergency. Not arrive late or leave early from class. Be excluded or expelled from any class by an instructor for disruptive behavior, nor receive credit for attendance that day, and be admitted to another course with such conditions of re-enrollment, attendance, and additional costs may be determined by the school. Those things are not that important, as this is a computer-generated class which will get all of your 8 hours accounted for. You have to take all 8 hours to get credit for this class. 2, a student enrolled in this course on the abuse of alcohol and controlled substance, A, shall complete the course within the time ordered by the court and attend all classes in the court. B, must be reassigned to a subsequent session upon any failure to complete a session within a course. C, must be excluded without credit for attendance in any class if in the instructor's best judgment the student is during a class impaired as a result of the use of alcohol, a controlled substance, or other chemical. And 3, a student enrolled in a course on traffic safety must receive classroom instruction, including, without limitation, instruction upon using communication technology for not less than 5 hours if the student has been convicted of 2 or fewer violations within a 12-month period, and 8 hours if the student has been convicted of 3 or more violations within a 12-month period. For impaired driving, driving with impaired ability because of alcohol or drugs is 7 demerits. And drinking an alcoholic beverage while driving is 5 demerits. And those are points that are worth noting. Driving with impaired ability because of drugs or alcohol is 7 demerits. And drinking an alcoholic beverage while driving is 5 demerits. I know that's a lot of information. That's just the syllabus and what we're going to go over in detail. That's the introduction, and hopefully the next slides and videos will make it very clear to you why drinking and driving does not work and why driving under the influence is a problem. So what is the big deal? Why is driving under the influence a problem? Well, here's what we do know. Each year, 10,000 people die drinking and driving. In December, 4,000 people die from drunk driving accidents alone. December is one of the heaviest times for DUIs. We also know that it is extremely and 100% preventable. So you can call Uber or Lyft or get a designated driver or just don't go out. So if you want to keep people safe on the roads, including yourself, do not drink and drive. And we're going to go over that a little bit. Driving under the influence. Here are some of the consequences according to the state and some U.S. laws. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has headed up a campaign called Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. Being tipsy or buzzed does not mean sober. If you feel a little bit tipsy, do not drive. If you went somewhere with the intention of having a couple drinks and you're tipsy, do not drive. If you're going to drink any alcohol, make sure that someone else is doing the driving for you. Waiting it out, drinking water, or eating does not grant you sobriety. It can take 1 ounce of alcohol 1 hour to metabolize in your liver. If you drink 3 beers at noon, you would be sober at 6 o'clock on average, and you can look some of those things out for yourself on whenwillibesober.com. That's whenwillibesober.com. And by the way, according to the CDC, 4 drinks for women and 5 drinks for men in one setting is considered excessive. One of the best ways for me to analyze with clients and really assess drinking issues are how many times when you drink do you drink more than you had intended. Every time you drink, you're probably going to drink more than you had intended, or drink more than you have the power or capacity to control in your body. You can't control the way liquor is going to affect you, whether you've eaten that day, whether you're tired that day, whether you're stressed that day. So if you drink, do not drive. You can get in serious accidents under a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08%. So if you drink, do not drive. Most states have now set 0.08% blood alcohol concentration, which is known as a BAC, and that's 0.08%, as the legal limit for driving under the influence. And I'm going to repeat that. Most states have now set 0.08% as the legal limit for driving under the influence for driving while impaired, or DWI. For commercial drivers, a BAC of 0.04% can result in a DUI or DWI conviction nationwide. So that's anywhere in the United States. For those under 21, there is a zero tolerance for even the smallest amount of alcohol is grounds for a DUI or a DWI. There's zero tolerance for anyone under 21 years of age. The law is the specific prohibition against driving with a concentration of 0.08 grams or more of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood of a person, or per 210 liters of his or her breath. Implied consent to a test of driver's breath, blood, or urine. So, the BAC applies only to alcohol. If any detectable amount of illegal substance is found, you will receive at least the same penalties as you would for alcohol, and perhaps more. We'll discuss that further in the next section. Being convicted of a driving under the influence can impact your life in many ways, not just legally. These are things that you may not be aware of, including loss of employment, prevention of employment for certain jobs in the future, higher insurance rates, serious financial setbacks, personal and family embarrassment, and having that conviction on your driving record for years, if not forever. With that, I want to say that driving under the influence and getting a DUI is not just a stop sign for you to take into consideration things are going on in your life that you need to take consideration of, but it's also a chance for you to redo, reset, and realign your life. It's not the end of the world. This is something that you can get a hold of and make some changes in your life for yourself and for others for the better. So whether it's a DUI or a DWI in your state, DMV.org, write that down, dmv.org, can show you what the different penalties are for driving under the influence and how it will affect your ability or your driving privilege. That's dmv.org. Should you ever find yourself faced with a DUI or DWI arrest, your first step should be to hire the services of a DUI attorney. A DUI attorney or DWI lawyer are highly trained in the DUI or DWI laws in your particular state. Remember, these are state laws. Each state is completely different. That's why whatever state you get your DUI in is the state that you'll need to get a lawyer that can help you with that particular state. And often they can lessen your fines or penalties. Be aware of offers such as free drug tests or alcohol testing. Nothing related to a DUI is free. And I'm going to repeat that. Nothing related to a DUI is free except for maybe time spent in prison. This is the end of this section, and we're going to go on to responsibilities of the state of Nevada next. We're moving on to responsibilities of the state of Nevada. Law enforcement agencies, the courts, and the Department of Motor Vehicles have responsibilities and procedures to follow when someone's been driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor or controlled substances. Some of these instances include imprisonment, fines, ignition interlock in vehicle, revocation or suspension, community service, educational courses concerning substance use, or you could attend a victim impact panel. Across the United States, driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, a DUI, is a serious offense and carries harsh penalties. It's no different in the state of Nevada. Beyond alcohol and illegal drugs, the DUI charge even applies to prescription and over-the-counter remedies when taking them impairs your ability to drive a car. I'm going to repeat that. A DUI charge even applies to a prescription and an over-the-counter remedy when taking them impairs your ability to safely drive a car. What is a DUI in Nevada? The illegal per se law simply means that driving with a BAC at or above the legally prescribed limit is an offense in and of itself. However, because the BAC limits are just a guide, you can also be arrested or cited for having a lower but still detectable amount of alcohol in your system. The implied consent law means that you must submit to BAC testing when requested by a police officer. Getting into the car while driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol already implies your consent to being tested. If you resist, law enforcement has been given permission to use reasonable force. You can also be arrested immediately for resisting. This is more likely the result. The open container law makes it illegal to drive a vehicle with an opened alcoholic beverage anywhere in the car. It doesn't apply, however, to the living areas of a motorhome or RV or the passenger areas of buses, taxis, and limousines. Additional penalties can come from aggravating circumstance. These can include such things as a DUI charge when you had a passenger under 18 years old in your car, and you can look up dmv.org for more information. According to the Nevada DUI Law Code, Chapter 484.379 through 484.3947, explains that it is against the law for anyone to operate a motor vehicle while under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or an intoxicant with a BAC of 0.08% or greater. In the state of Nevada, a person stopped for suspicion of driving under the influence and does not show any signs of impairment will still be arrested if the BAC is 0.08% or greater. You may also be charged and arrested with a BAC below 0.08% if you're showing signs or behaviors of impairment. The arresting officer's observation can and will be the determining factor. In other words, do not drink and drive. Do not drink and have any drugs or intoxicants in your system. You can and will be arrested for a DUI. Nevada DUI penalties. Refusing a chemical test penalties. Do not think that refusing a chemical test will keep you from any penalties. The first time you refuse a chemical test, you will have your driver's license suspended for a minimum of 1 year. Administrative penalties. If you're charged with a DUI, your license will be suspended by the Department of Motor Vehicles. You do have the option to appeal an administrative revocation by requesting a hearing. To request a hearing, you must contact your local Office of Administrative Hearings. They can help you with the steps needed to appeal a suspension. You can also read the hearings brochure by the NV-DMV. You may be eligible for a restricted license after you've served a portion of revocation time. For a first offense, you must wait at least 45 days. For a third offense, you will have to wait a minimum of 1 year. A second DUI offense is not eligible for a restricted license until all of the suspension time has been completed. And once again, you can go to dmv.org for more information. Administrative penalties for the first offense DUI. License revocation, 90 days. Victim's compensation civil penalty is $35. Ignition interlock device installation and monthly monitoring. Driver's license fee is $42.25. The testing fee is $26 and a reinstatement fee is $121. SR22 certificate of liability insurance is required for 3 years. Criminal penalties. If you're convicted of driving under the influence, you will be charged an extra $60 for chemical tests if any were done at the time of your arrest. So for the first DUI conviction, there's a jail sentence of 2 days or 6 months or 96 hours of community service. You will have a fine of $400 to $1,000. Mandatory attendance of a DUI school. Possible order to attend a substance abuse treatment program. Driver's license will be revoked for 90 days. An ignition interlock in vehicle will be installed. A second DUI conviction within 7 years, jail sentence or home arrest 10 days to 6 months. A fine of $750 to $1,000. 100 or 200 hours of mandatory community service. Possible registration suspension. Possible order to attend a substance abuse treatment program or undergo clinical supervision for up to 1 year, and driver's license will be revoked for 1 year for a second DUI conviction within 7 years. The third or more DUI conviction within 7 years. Prison sentence of at least 1 to 6 years, a fine of $2,000 to $5,000, possible suspension of your vehicle registration, and driver's license will be revoked for 3 years. Penalties for being under 21 years old for a DUI criminal penalty for those under 21 are the same as all of the above, except for these minor drivers may have to undergo an evaluation for an alcohol and drug abuse. The evaluation could lead to required treatment ordered by the court. DUI causing death or serious injury, even on the first offense, driver's license will be revoked for 3 years, and a prison sentence of 2 to 20 years and a fine of $2,000 to $5,000. If you are arrested for a DUI offense, you're in for some time at the police station and some time in court. You may wish to have a DUI lawyer by your side while you make the decision whether to plead guilty or not guilty. If you decide to fight the charges, you'll have your best chance at succeeding if you appoint a lawyer. And once again, you can go to dmv.org for more information. We're into how to reinstate your Nevada license, your Nevada driver's license. Don't hesitate to reinstate. I want to offer here that I get a lot of calls for the DUI school, for Good Medicine DUI School, and a lot of people have not reinstated their license, and it's taken years. Don't be that person. You're important. Your driver's license is important, and what you're going to learn and do in order to get that driver's license back instated is very important. To get a restricted license after the administrative suspension and the court-imposed suspension have elapsed, you will be required to do the following at the DMV. You have to pay all fines and fees. You have to retake the vision and written test, and possibly also the skills test. You will also need to fill out an application for a restricted license. That's the form DMV-21, and you can go to dmv.org to look that up. It's form DMV-21. You can do that. Pause and do that now if you'd like to. You may also be required to install an ignition interlock device, an IID, on your vehicle before you can reinstate your license. IIDs require an installation fee as well as a monthly maintenance fee. Monthly fees for that. An IID can only be installed and maintained by a company approved by the state. Make sure it's approved by the state before you have it installed. Protecting yourself from other drivers. Even if you aren't driving under the influence yourself, your life can be drastically altered forever by coming into contact with someone who is. When you see a car on the road that is driving erratically or otherwise, if it makes you think that the driver is impaired, stay away from it. Sometimes I'll just pull over too and get their tag number and call them in. Yes, I do that. The following are signs that the driver may be driving while impaired. If they're turning too widely, if they're straddling the center line or swerving between lanes, any swerving, stay away. Near collisions with people or objects, weaving or drifting from lane to lane, driving off-road or ignoring turning lanes and continuing straight, driving too fast and driving too slow. Those are all huge signs of driving while impaired. stopping in the road for no reason, tailgating, erratic or uneven braking if someone's just hitting the brakes, driving into oncoming traffic, slow response to traffic lights or signs, sudden speed changes, or driving at night without headlights. Those are all signs that someone else is driving while impaired. We're going to go into how your driving is impaired when you are drinking. How blood alcohol content, BAC levels, affect driving. An alcohol blood content, a BAC level of 0.08%, is considered legally impaired. However, alcohol can start to affect many of your senses after only one drink. One drink, it can change your senses. No matter the circumstances, you should never drink and drive. It's not worth the risk of putting yourself and others into danger. Here's an example of how your BAC level affects your driving. At BAC of 0.02%, you already begin to start lacking judgment. You have increased relaxation, and depending on the amount of stress, whether you've eaten that day, whether the stress is during that week, you can actually become even more intoxicated with just a 0.02% BAC. Slightly increased body temperature, mood swings, decreased visual functionality, and an inability to multitask, already at a BAC of 0.02%. These are things you need to know. At a BAC of 0.05, an increased lack of judgment, which you need when you're driving. All judgment there. An exaggerated behavior, lack of coordination, reduced ability to detect moving objects, lack of alertness, lack of inhibitions, decreased small muscle control, and reduced response rate. Already in the danger zone at a 0.02%. So imagine at a 0.05. Now at a 0.08%, which is what is considered legally impaired. At a BAC of 0.08, reduced muscle coordination, lack of judgment, lack of reasoning, lack of self-control, loss of short-term memory, reduced ability to concentrate, lack of speed control, reduced ability to process information. A BAC of 0.10, 0.10, poor coordination, reduced reaction times, reduced ability to control the vehicle, reduced ability to keep the vehicle within a lane and brake at appropriate times, and slurred speech. A BAC of 0.15, extreme loss of balance, nearly zero muscle control, vomiting, impaired visual and auditory information processing, significantly reduced attention to driving tasks. Additionally, fatal crashes involving a 0.08% BAC level or higher are charged as alcohol-impaired driving fatalities. And although the alcohol-impaired driving fatality rate decreased 27% between 2005 and 2014, motor vehicle crashes involving alcohol cost the United States roughly $44 billion each year. Moving on to the effects of alcohol in your ability to drive. The effects of alcohol and how alcohol affects your ability to drive. And this is from Traffic Safety Facts from November 2018. Alcohol impaired driving. State alcohol impaired driving estimates from January 2018. Alcohol is a substance that reduces the function of the brain, impaired thinking, reasoning, and muscle coordination. All these abilities are essential to operating a vehicle safely. As alcohol levels rise in a person's system, the negative effects on the central nervous system increase too, and alcohol is absorbed directly through the walls of the stomach and small intestine. Then it passes into the bloodstream where it accumulates and is metabolized by the liver. Alcohol level is measured by the weight of alcohol in a certain volume of blood. This is called blood alcohol concentration, or BAC. At a BAC of 0.08 grams of alcohol per DL of blood Crash risk increase exponentially. Because of the risk, it's illegal in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico to drive with a BAC of 0.08 or higher. However, even a small amount of alcohol can affect your driving ability. In 2017, there were 1,837 people killed in alcohol-related crashes where drivers had lower levels of BACs of 0.01 to 0.07 DL. BAC is measured by a breathalyzer, a device that measures the amount of alcohol in a driver's breath, or by a blood test. We're going to go over some of the facts about what happens in your body when you drink. Your brain shrinks when you drink alcohol. Long-term exposure to alcohol can shrink the frontal lobes of your brain. You can have blackouts. Blackouts are very serious. Alcohol can interfere with how your brain makes memories. It's possible to wake up with no recollection of what you did when you were drinking or even before. Dependence. Alcohol dependence is very serious, and it requires hospitalization. Alcohol dependence varies from person to person, so it's hard to define. You may become physically dependent on alcohol if drinking alcohol starts to affect your ability to perform well in school or work and affects your relationships. Heart damage. Chronic heavy drinking is one of the leading causes of cardiovascular disease, the #1 killer. Liver damage. Chronic alcohol use can damage the liver and prevent it from properly removing harmful substances from your body. Pancreatitis. Excessive alcohol consumption or abuse is a leading cause of chronic pancreatitis. Frequent diarrhea. Alcohol consumption can damage your intestines, which can lead to bouts of diarrhea and stomach pain. Infertility. Over a longer period of time, excessive drinking amounts of alcohol may cause infertility and sexual dysfunction. Malnutrition. Alcohol prevents your body from properly absorbing all the vitamins and minerals from the foods that you ate. Diabetes complications and numbness. You can experience tingling and numbness or pain in your hands or feet, and they may be a sign of damage to your central nervous system from drinking. Now let's talk about what happens and behavioral changes when you consume alcohol. Alcohol can change your typical behaviors and leave you without the mental clarity to make smart decisions, and we need all the mental clarity that we can get. Alcohol has even been able to known to be causing hallucinations. For people with alcohol dependence, a sudden withdrawal may cause serious complication, including hallucinations. And I want to say this again. If you have alcohol dependence, it has to be relieved through going to a hospital, and it has to be overseen through hospitalization. Slurred speech is one of the first symptoms of excessive alcohol consumption. Cancer. Chronic cancer. Cancer is chronic drinkers of alcohol are more likely to develop throat, mouth, and esophagus cancer. Breast cancer is also most common in women who drink excessively. Lung infections. People who drink regularly have a hard time fighting off bacteria and viruses and more susceptible to illnesses like tuberculosis and pneumonia. So it leaves you wide open to virus. Fatigue. Fatigue or feeling tired may be a sign of anemia, which is possible complications of alcoholism. Stomach disease. Drinking too much can lead to bloating, gas, and painful ulcers. Birth defects. A pregnant woman with heavy drinking can increase a baby's risk for several conditions, including fetal alcohol syndrome and issues with mental development. Fetal alcohol syndrome, I have many clients with fetal alcohol syndrome, and it's a lifelong battle. Thinning bones. Drinking increases your risk of osteoporosis and thinning bones. Changes in coordination, ability to balance and walk, that's important, and muscle cramps due to weakness, and eventually muscle death. And those are just some of the effects of alcohol on the body. How alcohol affects the body. Alcohol's impact on the body starts the moment you take the first sip. While an occasional glass of wine for dinner isn't cause for concern, the cumulative effects of drinking wine, beer, or spirits can take its toll. Reader, learn the effects of alcohol on your body. And there's many different places that you can learn that, but we're going to go over a few right now. Digestive or endocrine glands. Drinking too much alcohol can cause abnormal activation of digestive enzymes produced by the pancreas. Buildup of these enzymes can lead to inflammation known as pancreatitis. And pancreatitis can be a long-term condition and cause of serious complications. Inflammatory damage. The liver is an organ which breaks down and removes harmful substances from your body, including alcohol. Long-term alcohol use interferes with this process. It also increases your risk for chronic liver inflammation and liver disease. And the scarring caused by this inflammation is known as cirrhosis. Many of you have heard of that. The formation of scar tissue destroys the liver. As the liver becomes increasingly damaged, it has a harder time removing toxic substances to your body. Liver disease is life-threatening and leads to toxins and buildup in your body. And women are a higher risk for developing alcoholic liver disease. Women's bodies are more likely to absorb more alcohol and need longer periods of time to process it. So women are also shown liver damage more quickly than men. We're continuing on with use of drugs on the body. Cannabinoids, marijuana fact sheet. Marijuana is one of the most misunderstood and underestimated drugs of abuse. People use marijuana for the mildly tranquilizing mood and perception altering effects it produces. So some descriptions. Marijuana, the duration of one single dose effect, the most obvious effects are felt for 4 to 6 hours. Preliminary studies suggest that performance impairment lasts longer. The active chemical THC is stored in the body, fat, and slowly metabolized over time. Detection time. Traces of marijuana will remain in the urine or occasional user for up to 1 week, and in the case of a chronic user, up to 3 or 4 weeks. Dependency level, you can be dependent on marijuana. Evidence indicates moderate psychological dependence. Some of the other things about the effects of marijuana, the use of an individual, is impaired memory, space-time disorientations, distortions, feelings of euphoria, panic reactions, paranoia, an I don't care attitude, and a false sense of power. Some of the physical symptoms of marijuana use: reddened eyes, sometimes stained fingertips, particularly for non-smokers. You can have stained fingertips from holding joints. Chronic fatigue, irritating cough, chronic sore throat, accelerated heartbeat, slowed speech, impaired motor coordination and altered perception, and an increased appetite. Some of the effects for general health. When marijuana is smoked, it's irritating to the lungs. Chronic smoking causes emphysema-like conditions. One joint causes the heart to race and be overworked, and people with undiagnosed heart conditions are at risk. It's also commonly contaminated with the fungus Aspergillus, which can cause serious respiratory tract and sinus infections. Smoking it lowers the body's immune system, making ulcers more susceptible to infection. I screwed this whole part up because it's not. Some signs and symptoms of use of cannabinoids. Impaired memory, time-space distortions, feelings of euphoria, panic reactions, paranoia, and an I don't care attitude, and a false sense of power. It's irritating to the lungs, can cause the heart to race and be overworked, and people with undiagnosed heart conditions are at risk. Some marijuana is commonly contaminated with the fungus Aspergillus, which can cause serious respiratory tract and sinus infections. It lowers your body's immunity system response. The active chemical THC and 60 other related chemicals in marijuana concentrate in the ovaries and testes. Chronic smoking of marijuana in males causes a decrease in the male sex hormone testosterone and an increase in estrogen, the female sex hormone. The result is a decrease in sperm count and can lead to temporary sterility. Occasionally, the onset of female sex characteristic, including breast development, occurs in heavy users. Mental function with regular use of cannabinoids. Regular use can cause the following effects: delayed decision making, diminished concentration, impaired short-term memory, interfering with learning, impaired signal detection, ability to detect a brief flash of light, a risk for users who are operating machinery, impaired tracking, erratic cognitive function, distortions in long-time estimation, long-term negative effects on mental function known as acute brain syndrome, which is characterized by disorders in memory, cognitive function, sleep patterns, and physical condition. The mental impairments resulting from the use of marijuana produce reactions that can lead to unsafe and erratic driving behavior, distortions in visual perceptions, impaired signal detection, and altered reality can make driving a vehicle very dangerous. Some overdose effects of marijuana: aggressive urges, immobility, anxiety, mental dependency, confusion, panic, fearfulness, paranoia, hallucinations, unpleasant distortions in body image, heavy sedation. Withdrawal from marijuana includes some of the symptoms are decreased appetite, sweating, tremors, hyperactivity, and gastrointestinal distress. More Nevada DUI laws. Nevada law prohibits drinking with an open container in the vehicle. Las Vegas open container law prohibits driving with an open container of beer, wine, or liquor that has a broken seal. It also includes containers such as flasks, yard glasses, or cups that are not sealed. These charges are typically misdemeanors with a fine of $1,000 and 6 months in jail. You can get a DUI charge if you appear to be drinking and driving under the influence, or if your BAC is above Nevada's legal limit of 0.08%. Exceptions to the container law include living quarters of travel trailers or RVs, only passengers in a limo, taxi, or shuttle, and in the trunk of an automobile in Las Vegas only. So if you have alcohol in the trunk. Additionally, if you have driven intoxicated, you can still be arrested or charged for DUI up to 2 hours after you have turned off the ignition to an automobile. Now we're going to talk about one of the most important parts of getting a DUI, and that is one of the most hopeful parts as well, and that's treatment modalities for alcohol and drug abuse. The biggest concept for substance and use disorder is client's will to change, and it must be done holistically. Each individual will require working on themselves in every area of life in conjunction with a professional treatment team. If I was in that situation, I would personally, and even with my friends and family and with clients, highly recommend investing in yourself and getting professional help. I repeat, it's important to get professional help. After detox and withdrawal management comes individual work with a counselor, a medical doctor, and perhaps psychiatry. Combine a multidisciplinary team with support groups or AA, or with love and support from friends and family, then the success rates of drug and alcohol treatment are much higher. It's very important to find people who understand what you're going through. Sober social support is key in overcoming any kind of alcohol and drug addiction. Sober social support. Also, the will and the desire to want to overcome is paramount. Alas, when an individual is ready for change, when you are ready to do this and you want to do this, not for anybody else, but when you are ready, anything can happen. Testing, 1, 2, 3. We are going to start with a DUI test. 25 questions, and I'm going to go over the questions and the answers with you before we start. Number 1, if a DUI caused a death or serious injury, even on the first offense, what would be the penalty? A, driver's license revoked for 3 years. B, prison sentence of 2 to 20 years. C, a fine of $2,000 to $5,000. Or D, all of the above. And the answer is D, all of the above. Question number 2. True or false? It is illegal in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico to drive with a blood alcohol concentration, a BAC, of 0.08 or higher. A, true, or B, false? A, that is true. All over the United States and District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, it is illegal to drive with a back of 0.08 or higher. 3, according to the National Highway Traffic Administration, the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 10,000 people die a year from drunk driving. A, is that true, or B, is that false? A, it's true. 10,000 people die a year from drunk driving. Number 4, the illegal blood concentration BAC limit in Nevada is A, 0.02, B, 0.04, or C, 0.08, and D, 0.09. I'm hoping that everybody says C, 0.08. 5, for drivers under 21 years of age in Nevada, the illegal blood alcohol concentration BAC limit is A, 0.2, B, 0.4, C, 0.8, D, 0.0. And the actual answer is D, 0.0. Any alcohol is strictly forbidden for ages 21 of age and under in the state of Nevada. No alcohol whatsoever. Question number 6. What are some of the consequences that follow being convicted of drinking and driving under the influence? A, loss of employment. B, higher insurance rates. C, DMV suspensions and fines. And D, all of the above. The answer is D, all of the above are possible for having a DUI. Number 7. The implied consent law means that you must submit to a BAC, blood alcohol concentration test, when requested by a police officer. If you resist, the officer can legally A, arrest you immediately for resisting, B, suspend your driver's license, C, call rideshare provider, or D, both A and B. And the correct answer is A, arrest you immediately for resisting. 8, what are some of the effects of alcohol intoxication? A, slurred speech, difficult time balancing, numbness in hands and feet. B, improved concentration, vision, and helps digestive tract. C, speeds up heart rate, improves fine motor skills, aids in long-term memory loss. And D, all of the above. A is, of course, the correct answer. Slurred speech, difficult time balancing, numbness in hands and feet. Number 9, how long does it take to get sober after finishing 3 beers? A, 12 hours, B, 4 hours, C, 6 hours, or D, 8 hours. The correct answer is C, 6 hours. Number 10, what can I do to become sober after consuming alcohol? A, drink 2 cups of coffee. B, eat a cheeseburger. C, wait at least 6 hours. D, at least wait 1 hour. The correct answer is C, wait at least 6 hours. Number 11, what is considered excessive drinking according to the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, for one setting? A, 4 beers in 1 hour for men, 3 beers in 1 hour for women. B, men consume 2 bottles of wine in 1 hour, women consume 1 bottle of wine in 1 hour. C, men and women consume 3 drinks in about 2 hours. Or D, men consuming 5 or more drinks in one sitting, and women consume 4 or more drinks in one setting. And the correct answer for number 11 is D. The CDC considers excessive drinking 5 drinks in one setting for men and 4 drinks in one setting for women. Now you know. Number 12, an average person has consumed 3 beers. How many hours would it take to become sober again? A, 6 hours, B, 3 hours, C, 8 hours, or D, 4 hours. And the correct answer is A, 6 hours. Number 13, what would you do if you need to go somewhere after having 3 beers in 1 hour? A, Ask your friend who has been drinking with you for a ride. B, call a rideshare service and not drive yourself. C, drive extra slow on the road and use your GPS. Or D, wait 6 hours and then hail a taxi. B, call a rideshare service and do not drive. Number 14, the open container law makes it illegal to drive a vehicle with opened alcoholic beverages anywhere in a car except A, at a sporting event or concert, B, while heading to a private event or ceremony, C, living areas of a motor home or RV, or D, when you're fishing or on a camping trip. And the correct answer, of course, is C, living areas of a motor home or RV. Number 15, a person consuming beer or wine would be less intoxicated than the person consuming the same amount of hard liquor. A, true. One 12-ounce beer and a 5-ounce glass of wine has less alcohol than 1.5-ounce shot of liquor. Or B, false. One 12-ounce beer and 5-ounce glass of wine has the same amount of alcohol as a 1.5-ounce shot of liquor or hard liquor. And the answer is B, false. One 12-ounce beer and a 5-ounce glass of wine has the same amount of alcohol as a 1.5-ounce shot of hard liquor. Number 16. What are the penalties for a second conviction of driving under the influence within a 7-year period? A, jail sentence or house arrest for 10 days, up to 6 months, $750 or $1,000 fine, and possible order to undergo clinical supervision for up to a year. B, jail sentence or house arrest for 3 days to 3 months, $250 or $500 fine, car registration is suspended. C, driver's license revoked, mandatory DUI school, and 96 hours of community service. Or D, all of the above. And the correct answer is jail sentence or house arrest for 10 days to 6 months, $750 to $1,000 fine, and possible order to undergo clinical supervision for up to a year. Question number 17. What is the penalty for refusing to take a chemical test? A, driver's license is suspended for a minimum of 2 years. B, driver's license is suspended for a minimum of 1 year. C, driver's license is suspended for a minimum of 5 years. And D, none of the above. The correct answer is B, driver's license is suspended for a minimum of 1 year. 18, how does marijuana impair your ability to operate a vehicle? A, impaired signal detection, risk for users who are operating machinery. B, impaired tracking and visual distance measurements. And C, delayed decision making. D, all of the above. The correct answer is D, all of the above. Number 19, opiate affects driver performance by A, slowing down reflexes that impede reaction times of the driver. B, increases driver's anxiety. C, increased heart rate and alertness. And D, none of these. The correct answer is A, slowing down reflexes that impede the reaction time of the driver. 20, in a life redesign program, A, helps clients reinstate their driver's license. B, provides resources for support groups. C, helps find new directions in life. Or D, none of these. C is helps find new directions for life. Question number 21. How long does the effect of a single dose of marijuana take to process through an average person's system? A, 4 to 6 hours. B, 2 to 3 hours. C, 30 to 60 minutes. And D, everyone is different. The correct answer is A, 4 to 6 hours. Question number 21. According to the trans-theoretical model, clients in the preparation and action phase understand A, they have to make appointments with treatment centers and support groups. B, they must be ready to learn a new way to live. C, they meet with a counselor to come up with a treatment plan. Or D, none of these. The correct answer is B, they must be ready to learn a new way to live. Question number 23 on your test. What are some of the requirements needed to reinstate a Nevada driver's license? A, pay some of the fines and fees if you want to. B, retake the vision and written tests and possibly retake the skills test. C, fill out form NV21. D, all of the above. B, retake the vision and written test and possibly retake the skills test is the correct answer. 24. A penalty for a first-time DUI conviction include A, a driver's license revoked for 90 days, B, jail sentence 2 to 6 months or 96 hours of community service, C, a fine of $400 to $1,000, or D, all of the above. And the correct answer is D, all of the above. And finally, 25, what are some of the requirements needed to reinstate a Nevada driver's license? A, pay some of the fines and fees if you can. B, retake the vision and written tests and possibly all the skills tests. C, fill out Form NV21, or D, all of the above. And B, retake the vision and written tests and possibly all the skills tests is the correct answer. I hope that you have some valuable information that's going to change your life taking the Good Medicine DUI School course. That was my intention in creating it, that it would be a intervention, a prevention, and maybe give you some more ideas of how to change your life. In addiction counseling, we have a poem and it's called The Hole. And basically what it talks about is, I get up in the morning, I walk outside, I fall in the hole. I get up the next day, I walk outside, I fall in the hole. It takes me forever to get out, but I get out. And then the next day, I walk outside and I fall into the hole. Sometimes people help me out, sometimes I get out more quickly. But the whole gist of the story is that there are days that you can get up, go outside, and not just go around the hole, but there's other roads that you can go down. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to start at level 1. You can start at level 5 and move way, way past this DUI. And there's so many treatment modalities, and there's so many people in the helping fields that are willing to help. As a matter of fact, you can go on psychologytoday.com. Do it now. What's stopping you? If not now, when? And look up, find a therapist in your area, put your zip code in, all the different insurances and their specializations will come up for you. I'm also willing to take some clients on as well for drug and alcohol counseling. That's my specialization. In this, you will find that we don't talk about drugs and alcohol and craving or any of those things. We talk about sober social support, what I want to do in my life, what's next, what are the things I love, what's the life that I want to create. Instead of looking backwards, we move forward. Time moves forward, not backwards. So we don't even want to look at the past and look at the things that I did wrong. That doesn't get you anywhere. We're going to stop, look at where I am, understand where I am, take responsibility for where I am, and then think about, dream about, and design a new life, new goals. How about let's throw some happiness in there? Let's look at what it is that caused me to get to the place that I am. And so we'll look at some of those things. And I do have a really good success rate with drug and alcohol because we just work on what you want to do next in your life. We don't work on what didn't work. As a matter of fact, we just keep moving forward. Some of the work that you can do with me in counseling may count towards hours, possibly. That is where it's your responsibility to ask the judge if some of these hours will count if I have to take more DUI school for drug and alcohol counseling. If you are required by the judge to do drug and alcohol counseling, it's your responsibility to ask the judge or his clerk if you can do therapy with me. That's your responsibility to do it. If so, then I can sign off, okay? I hope I made that very, very clear. Also, there are other therapists out there. Maybe the judge didn't require you to take drug and alcohol therapy or just therapy. However, I highly recommend it. I think everybody should go to therapy. Therapy is good medicine. It's a really, really good thing to process everything that you've gone through with another person who cares and listens with non-judgmental approach. So I'm a huge believer in therapy. I think therapy is what the world needs now, and that's why I took the school, so I can put that information in. Again, if you want to reach me for a session, or if you would like to work on some of those hours after you've spoken to the judge for approval, then the information is, of course, on this website, or you can go to Psychology Today. There are a lot of different options in this town as well for detox or treatment centers here in town, and you can look that up also on Psychology Today, or just go on your phone. We're in the age of communication, and look up treatment centers in Nevada. And I wish you all the best, and I hope that this course really could change your life.